Welcome to the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret gridiron bunker beneath Bolstorff Field. It's our Father's Day special podcast.
We don't have team captains today.
No, we're the captain. I am the captain now. You're the captain now.
Oh, we are
finally.
We are captains. Captains of this ship, and we started our maiden voyage, and we had our hobo water, and we've gone all the way through, and here we are today, flying solo to make sure that we can get an episode knocked out. We were trying to get some guests, and last minute things fell through, and that's all right. But we wanted to do something special, so we're going to do a little bit of get to know the men behind the curtain.
Okay. And it is heading into Father's Day weekend, so we're looking forward. We did ask for some special, we got some special messages for some of the dads that are listening to this, and we hope to continue to make that a tradition.
And do you suppose we're going to get any heat from not having Mother's Day messages? Because that would be.
Yeah, I think we missed it.
Well,
we need to do a better job. We're novices. People listening are like, oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, you guys sound great.
Yeah.
Well, we had a couple great guests lined up. And they're going to come in probably toward the end of the summer. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm not going to spoil it for you. Tell you who it is, but I'm just going to say, if you've listened to the previous episodes, it is the Godfather and the Godmother themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming in.
I know for a fact that their son called in and left a message for Father's Day.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
So that one, we won't say which one it is, maybe, but one of the people that called in to the show.
Well, do we have one queued up that we can go ahead and
we sure do.
Off? I can't wait to hear these. This is great, and this talks about the culture of this team, Troy.
Yeah.
These kids. They're ours for right now, but they still have those ties back home, and they know what's important. Just because a kid didn't remember to call in and get his message put on doesn't mean he's a bad person.
Right.
These guys are, some of them didn't get the message, and they're busy and they're working out because we got a job to do coming up here in a few weeks. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Because we're nearing the end of June. We have July, early part of August. We're going to have these kids back on campus.
I'm excited for that. I can't wait. You're right. They are busy, or they didn't get we put the message out. I think it was Monday. I contacted Coach, and I'm just like, hey, put this out to the guys. We have a little schedule change, so this will be part of what we're going to do. And he did a great job getting the information out.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we didn't get all 116 folks to call in, and that's okay because I don't know what that would even sound like.
That'd have been 3 episodes, 4 episodes,
right?
Nothing but recordings. Yeah.
But they also may not know what to say. So kudos in 2 ways: for the one for calling in and leaving a message, taking the time, finding the time to do that for your dad as we go through those in the episode today. But also, for thinking of something to actually say, and for some, these are college kids. Sometimes, coming up with a thing to say and realizing people are going to hear what you're going to say to your dad can be a challenge. And
they're no Troy Thompson. I mean,
just off the cuff.
Oh yeah, boom,
Extemporaneous.
Extemporaneous. Is that a Chad Anderson reference?
Stump. Yes. Well, let's take a look at. I'll just give you one here. What? Let's hear it.
This is Gerard Reed. My position is D-line, and my number is 93. The best of my 2 role models I have. One, which is Coach Greg. He pushed me to do better as far as a man on and off the field. Playing with him made me realize life is very precious and more valuable than anything else. And having that role model as a person drove me to a person I am today, which is keep going and never stop. My dad, I appreciate everything he has done so far in my life. We have ups and downs, but at the same time, we always connect somehow, some way. I really appreciate that. I love him for death. And thank you for everything I've done, both role models.
Gerard Reed.
Gerard Reed, number 93.
Yep.
From Ocala, Florida. Ocala or Ocala? Ocala, isn't it?
Whatever you want to say. We're in Iowa. I mean, most people are going to go.
Well, his dad's going to, they're going to be listening.
Well, yeah, Ocala.
I think it's
Ocala.
Yeah.
Is it potato? But I'll tell you what, Gerard is, Gerard's a special young man. He holds a place in my heart. Gerard is always wanting to visit. And he had some setbacks as far as injuries, and he's battled back. I mean, the kid has battled back. And then, early in spring ball, he thought he was released and didn't get released. And I'll tell you what, he finally hit that field. Gerard's not a super tall kid.
He's 5'9". Yeah.
He's not a super tall kid, but he's thick. He's solid. Yep. And he's got a heart and a motor, and he's going to do things. He's going to turn some heads. I'm looking forward to watching him play because, again, when I say he holds a special place in my heart, yeah, absolutely does. I love Gerard Reed to death. But he's one of dozens. I got to be honest. There's so many of these kids I just love that guy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But Gerard's one of those guys. And I was telling you before we started the podcast, Gerard's pretty good at talking to me on the sideline during games and during practices and stuff like that. And he'll tell you like it is.
Yeah.
And that's pretty great. And he'll just, half the time I can't hear.
Yeah, but
Gerard, I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I got to lean down there and it'll be, oh, no, man, I'm sorry. Coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Big man, lots of power.
Yeah.
Big heart. And
not
going to interrupt what you're saying right now, but if you got
he's great. I just absolutely love Gerard to death. Can't say enough good things. And happy Father's Day to Gerard's dad. He didn't say his name.
No, he kept that secret, but you know what? He did mention one of his coaches. He hit on the lesson about life is very precious and more valuable than anything else. I think that's just an awesome thing to hear a young man say. And it sounds like he was driven to be successful, and he's continuing to pursue that drive. So that's what we like to hear.
We've heard that so many times, Troy. That impact that these coaches make on these young men's lives, from the time they get into whether it's Pop Warner or some sort of flag, NFL flag league or whatever it is. Those coaches that are out there making a difference in these young men's lives and inspiring them not just to be great football players, because there's some skill, some talent that just comes inherently in some of these young men, but it's that heart for it.
Yeah,
and taking that, molding it, and turning them into fine young men. And that's really what our coaching staff here at Waldorf University is doing every day. They're working hard at it, and there's a lot of love. We heard it from Twan last week.
Yeah,
the love that he has for his coaches, and it's really inspiring to even think about the little bit of time that I get to spend with them. And I'm not an aspiring guy. It's like, hey, coach, did you find my T-shirt? Let's go look.
Yeah,
that's as inspiring as I can get. But these position coaches, the head coaches, the OC, the DC, all those guys, they're getting in there and they're building this relationship with these kids, and it matters. It makes a huge difference. And we've heard it time and time again on this podcast.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Well, you coach, you got the, it's X's and O's, it's recruiting, it's position and skills, and just the action and the talent, the profession of coaching itself. But part of that is the right person. And, a coach has to also be a little bit of a pastor, which is appropriate that, the field is named after what Waldorf had as both the head coach and as the chaplain for the school.
Yeah.
Because you are, that person, and you have to like it. Like you kind of gotta like the people that you're working with in order to be, you can be hard and diligent and all that, but they also must enjoy it. And obviously we see that in the results that are on the field, but then also when we do this podcast, when we talk to people, like you said, Twan last week or whatever, he had nothing but amazing things to say. And it didn't sound like he always had terrific relationships with some of the coaches in the past. This guy, Gerard, he's got a relationship with a high school coach. And there's two people, it's appropriate for this episode that, in my own experience that, when a young man is considering or wanting to play football in after high school, when the time comes, that young man will eventually ask dad and coach, and probably others, but certainly those two. It's just a question of whether it's, what would you do? What should I do? That type of thing. It only comes one time. Right. And then in that window, those two people have to be pretty open to, whatever it happens to be. They have to give some good advice, but they have to kind of stay out of the way too. And I know as a dad, you and I know that can be probably the hardest part of being a dad, because it's really easy when they're young to tell them exactly what they need to do.
Pick up your room.
Yeah. Now with older kids, you got to kind of let them get around to asking the question. You know,
and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's odd. You've seen this with the age range of your kids too. Is that those teenage years, you know, is that independence building, and then as they get older, you know, they get into their 20s and it's post college and things like that, and then all of a sudden we're smart again.
Yeah,
you know, the dads, they come back going, hey dad, what do you think about you know, and even it's like I've got a son-in-law, and he's got a great father. You know, Sid is just a super dude. And, but every now and then, you know, maybe, and Sid's a very successful, very busy man. And every now and then the son-in-law will call me, can I ask you some advice?
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it, especially with my son-in-law, because you're taking care of my daughter.
That's right.
And so this is a whole new ball of wax. So that's a different dynamic for me to have another young man saying, hey, what do you think about, you know, and when they were debating on where to live after they got married, and he said, what do you think? I said, I think you need to be a man. You need to lead.
Yeah.
And communicate with my daughter, and the two of you need to make an adult decision and do what's best for the two of you.
Right.
What I think, I want you to move into the basement.
Yeah.
Because I want to see every day.
Yeah.
But the reality is that may not be what's best for them.
Yeah. Usually not. Sent one of my sons down to Kansas City a few weeks ago. Got a job down there, and he's, you know, doing fine, getting ready to whatever they got to do, take the bar or whatever in Missouri. I don't know. But, it's you want to, what did Sting say? If you love someone, you got to let them go. You got to let, and you want them to go. But we always told all four of our boys were just like, look, we love you. Go out, do great things. And we hope you come back and live near us, not in the same house.
No,
you know, because we've already done that.
Yeah.
And you're not great housekeepers, but like we want you close by. And I really appreciate communities, small town communities, really any community, but that can say, you know, to their kids, that exact thing. Go out, do great things, come back and live here, be part of our community, start a business here, work here, bring your kids to our school, you know, that type of thing. And small communities probably need to do a better job of that, in my opinion. But that is, you know, another subject for another time.
Amen. Yeah. Well, let's jump into another message to my father.
Great idea. So Nico Page did call in, and we had Nico on the show.
Yeah, super guy.
So let's see what Nico has to say.
Hey, this is Nico Page, defensive lineman number 69. I just want to give a big shout out to my dad for being there at all times, you know, showing me the right direction and just, you know, taking me through the journey that I've been going through. And
That's it.
Nico.
You got the word that he wanted to put out there. Thanks for the, big shout out to Dad for showing me the right direction.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something right now, and you can say you heard it here first, and maybe we said it when Nico was here, but the kid's going to make some noise. He's going to make some noise.
Make some noise, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not going to get to third down with Nico on the field. He's an up-and-coming kid. He's a stud.
Yep.
He's a workhorse. He really is. And we had the luxury of meeting him and spending some time with him, and he's an interesting dude. I love him to death.
Yeah.
There's another one. I love them all.
Yeah, they're all pretty.
There's not anybody on that roster I'd say don't like him much.
I coached football for like my boys when they were little until they became coached by professionals in junior high. And up to that point, it was, you know, I did the coach or co-coached with somebody, you know, and it was the best advice, you know, is whatever they do, they'd come off the field and they really screwed something up. And you find something good to say and you go, look, that was good when you did X. And then next time, make sure you do this so that Y doesn't happen, you know? And it took me a long time to get around to that because it's really easy to just like, I can't believe that you ran the wrong direction, you know, or whatever it happened to be. So
it's amazing as fathers how you can get that. You want the best for your kids.
Yeah.
In everything that they do. And then when they make those little mistakes, you're like, I can't believe. And so what did you think, Dad?
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. You did a great job and you showed a lot of heart out there and I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, and we need more of that these days. You know, our social media is filled with parents of these, you know, these 8 and under, you know, teams. I don't care if it's soccer, baseball, or anything like that, chasing umpires and referees and officials off the field.
Yeah, crazy
like
stuff.
We need to have some sort of I don't want to say law because laws don't do anything.
I'm not a big fan of those.
No,
I'm not an outlaw, but but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, let's hold these people accountable. And it's like if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I get after officials when they need it, then you're the problem.
Yeah.
And you know what you need to do
Yeah.
is bring a roll of duct tape, wrap it around your face about 5 times so you can't do anything but breathe out of your nose.
Right.
Yeah. And
well, can you imagine? Well, I guess I'd like to see their credentials, like if they're like, like the all-time greatest umpire or referee or official of any sort, and they've got the, credentials to back that up, and they're critical of a guy on the field, whatever it happens to be, then you go, oh, okay, I can see why you might be a little critical, because officials do make bad calls. They do make mistakes because they're human.
Yeah.
Most parents are not volunteering to go out there and wear the stripes. They're not going, they're not putting themselves out there whatsoever.
Yeah.
They probably assume that by driving their special, precious wonder to practice every day, that's just enough. And then they get to have the ESPN input live and in person with these people that are just volunteers. Now, fortunately, some of the times I umpired, like in baseball, like coach pitch or whatever, and I would be like right after work. Nobody ever complained about my umping because I was in uniform.
So you might be packing.
My uniform was different. Yeah. You got something. And I mean, I was not good. Like my son was batting and I go, well, ball, and it wasn't even, and he goes, Dad, I swung. I'm like, strike, I mean, come on.
Well, it felt like a ball.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to be crazy or anything, but yeah, good. You're right, Andy. That's exactly right.
Be a good sport. Teach your kids young that sportsmanship is essential. And the thing is, these kids do a good job of it.
Yeah.
But then as they get older and their parents are rotten, and their parents are yelling at the officials, their parents are questioning the coach, all these other things.
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't put Junior in. It was 3rd and 5, and he can always get 5 yards every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, every time.
Great. Every time.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And so you should say something to everybody and make it loud in the stands. And we've sat around those people.
Oh, yeah.
Basketball games, football games, baseball games.
Every sport.
Volleyball.
I had the fortune to have the 2 older boys were in high school. They were also the quarterback for the team. And so if you want a special privilege about how parents treat other kids on the team. Sit amongst the crowd silently and listen on a hard game night when your kid's the quarterback. Yeah. And it's just and if they don't know you're there, it's even better, because they're just letting it all come out. And you're like, duly noted.
Exactly. Do I want to go to jail tonight? Nope, don't want to go to jail. So you just take your ignorance and just sit there and soak in it.
But the kids always say, well, like we've asked them here, they, well, do you hear us when we shout or whatever? And a lot of times, most of the times they say, well, I don't hear it. They don't hear specific things or whatever. Occasionally then, a well-timed thing that they'll hear. I think in college, one of the things I love about college ball is that you can be a little more vocal, and you can be, and the crowd can be a lot more hometown flavor than in high school. And because in high school we're trying to get kids to play, and it is, you do want them to win, but you want them to learn how to win in the process, and that includes losing occasionally, and so it's a different ball. But in college, it's fun to get after it. I love announcing those games, and I can't say things like make some noise at a high school game that I announce. That's
against the rules.
It is against the rules. The Iowa High School Athletic Association has rules for the PA guy, or person, whoever it happens to be.
Yeah,
not in college though.
All right, who we got up next, Troy?
Well, let's see. Nico left 2 messages for some reason. Let's see what he said on the other one.
Hey, this is Nico Page, defensive lineman, number 69. I want to give a shout out to my dad for being there for me at all times, and just being there supporting me and the team.
There we go. We got Nico twice.
I think that he did. He's like, I don't think he liked the first one. So then I don't know if he liked the first one. I don't know.
Yeah, they sounded very similar.
They did. Good. That was the first one. I played it out of order. He didn't like that. The first one we heard was the one he liked better. But then that was the one that he just was like, yeah. And then
hey, how's it going?
Good job, Nico.
Yeah, thanks.
Two messages for your dad. Let's take a message from one of our coaches, which is pretty neat. Also, one of the guests, our
maiden voyage.
Maiden voyage. Here's what Sean Henry had to say.
It's Sean Henry, assistant football coach, Waldorf University, defensive line, and co-defense coordinator. Dad, just wanted to say happy Father's Day to you. Next year, I wish I could be there to celebrate with you. It's just great to have you come during the season and see a game, and you're the best dad anybody could ask for. I love you, Dad, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.
Aw.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, Sean Henry, he's got that crusty exterior, but he's soft and gooey on the inside. He's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, I bet if we had done, like we should have done a Mother's Day episode, we would have. Oh yeah,
you'd have cried.
We've got it. Yeah, undoubtedly.
Well, again, Sean is, he can be hard on his kids. And he coaches them up. He does a great job. Those kids love him, and. But at the same time, I've seen his soft side too. And
have you?
Oh yeah, he's got a big heart. Can't say enough good things about Coach Henry. He's an exceptional person. And when we had him in here talking about his family, it was very poignant, to be honest with you.
It was, yeah.
I mean, he spoke very, very well, obviously, but then he also just that you could tell by the things that he said about his family, his mom and his dad. Just that's what he's committed to. That's his base.
Yes.
And that's so important for anybody, and I think that, you and I have that luxury too of, the parents that did the right thing. They were there and, they were always there. And it seems like Sean, he's got some miles, Dansville, New York to Forest City, Iowa.
Right.
It's tough for them to make it every home game.
Right.
And it's closer to go to Michigan.
Right. Well, and I'm sure they will.
I hope so. I haven't met them yet. They were here one game last year, and I said, I got to meet your folks, Sean. And I got busy, so that was disappointing for me.
Well, when they, it's amazing. I'm always, I don't know why, but when coaches' parents travel and see the games as well, I'm kind of impressed by that and a little surprised. I mean, it seems like, that to me, it seems like, well, maybe that ended when they stopped playing, but obviously that's a great way. Actually, when you think about it, it's one of the few jobs that you can do that you can actually kind of show your parents what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're working, I mean, what if your mom stops by and just like follows you around the county?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Successful.
Yeah. If you're trying to manage some emergencies and mom's like, I like what you're doing, Andy. Keep up the good work.
Exactly. Who's the logistics section chief today, Andy? What do you think? This is a pretty big exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, my mom would have had a lot to say in my job, but my dad would not have. My dad would not say. He wouldn't. He doesn't talk much at all, to be honest with you. He's a very quiet guy. Obviously, I didn't.
Yeah.
I got it from my mom's side. Is where all this yapping comes from. But when he does say something, he absolutely means it.
Yeah.
You can be 100% certain that it is full of integrity and honesty, and he's not trying to be hurtful. Yep. He does not. He's got a great sense of humor, but he's not the one to lead with something to poke at somebody else.
Right.
My dad was always and remains a very, incredibly important person in my life, and a person that is, that to me is a true demonstration of integrity.
Yep.
Which of the 7 Army values, I always felt like integrity was the most important one. So I think I got that certainly from my dad. I will say that I am thankful for my dad's demeanor, because he is opinionated, but he arrives at those opinions in a very roundabout, long, lengthy, appropriately lengthy way. My mom, she also is opinionated, and she arrives at that conclusion immediately. and she's going to tell you how I got there. And so for me, I was lucky because then I get the best of both worlds. So I'm somewhere in the middle,
right?
You know, a little skeptical, opinionated, but not, you know.
Yeah, and I think my folks were almost that mirror opposite. You know, Mom's still around. We lost Dad about 1.5 years ago,
right?
And but Dad was one of those guys growing up that it'd be something as simple as a 17-year-old boy would go to him and say, "Hey, Dad, me and the guys are going to go over to Mason City to watch a movie. Mom said to come ask you." Well, okay, you know, you know. You're going to get in that car with these guys and all sorts of different things could happen. So, you know, you guys got to keep a good head on your shoulders for one. And then you got to think about, I don't know, you're going to be burning fuel the whole way. I mean, there's a perfectly good movie theater right uptown. And so you're going to pay $1.25 to go to the movie. What's like $4 in Mason? I mean, so, you know, the scale of economy right there. Well, then you got to think about, you know, there's deer out all the time and, you know, you could hit a deer and, you know, there's just general wear and tear on your car. Well, and then there's also things like you're going to get over there with a bunch of guys and, you know, you never know. Some guys from Mason City, they might be from Charles City and they start smarting off and you guys can't back down. So the next thing you know, you're in a fight or something stupid like that. And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what he was.
No answer. No answer. All sorts of everything that could possibly go wrong, everything you should consider. But I'll tell you what, that was kind of one of those things that it's taught me through my life that when I'm confronted with a situation, whether it's a problem or good, bad, or otherwise, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have to listen. And I have to listen close because there's going to be a lot of things and I may not answer people right away. Like,
yeah.
I got to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and Mom was always like that and she still is, you know, but that was always the thing, you know, I talked about my son-in-law giving me a call and asking me advice and stuff like that. But whenever my wife and I we'd have, you know, hey, we're thinking about buying this house. We're thinking about buying this car, any of those other things. And cars were a different thing. Cause I still remember pulling up with a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee and Dad walked out and goes, "Whoa, buy it."
Yeah. Wow.
Because it had 4 wheels and a motor and he loved it. It didn't matter what it looked like,
right.
how expensive it was. Just buy it.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
So that was his weakness, but he was very good at painting pictures of all the details, the things that you may not think about.
Right.
You know, and so obviously I missed that with him being gone and you know, but I'll tell you what, he really shaped me into the man that I am today.
Obviously.
He and Mom. You know?
Yeah. For sure. Well, just explaining what you just went through in your, you know, your role playing as your dad, you listed all of the potential hazards. That is, I mean, I may not have 100% grasp on what your job is, but I feel like that's a pretty big part of emergency management.
Yeah,
risk assessment is thinking of what could possibly go wrong here.
Yeah, if we do this, these are the cascading events that could happen because of that. And so, maybe I just fell into it, but it's, you know, it's one of the things that, you know,
well, you were shaped for it, Ben.
Oh yeah, Pop was just good. Man, he was all over the place. It was great, and it was just one of he loved to talk.
Yeah,
we were sitting in a fishing boat a few years ago, and it was my brother-in-law, his son-in-law, my dad, and I'm sitting up in the front of the boat running the show.
Yeah.
You know, so they're behind the windshield, so I don't really have to listen to them.
Yeah.
And Dad is telling a story or whatever, and he's not catching any fish because he's more interested in telling stories, just talking you know, about nothing.
Right.
And my brother-in-law looked over to son-in-law and said something about, hey, what do you guys want to, you know, should we have pork chops tonight or whatever we talked about? And Dad said, hey, I was talking. You guys need to listen to me. I got stuff to say.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. And who knows what he was talking about? No, I mean, you listen to him, but you just kind of go, okay, for you. Yeah.
Well, as a dads will find a way to turn any commentary into a life lesson.
Oh, teaching moments all the time.
It's always that, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to touch that, huh? Well, it's hot.
Yeah.
That hurt, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
And you and sometimes you don't let dangerous things happen, but I've definitely got a, probably an old school way of doing business with the boys that I've raised and continue to raise, just, you know, and it's just somebody, I can't remember who said it, but they looked out and they, you know, I probably heard it in a movie or something, I don't know, but it was like, we're not raising grass. We're raising kids, and or boys or whatever. So, they tear up the grass, they make mistakes. They do hit a deer with their vehicle when they start. The things happen. And then some of those, you try to prepare them for it. But then when those things come up, I have learned that the way that we handle it is very, very important, because you know what I mean. And if I'm to be critical of myself as a dad, I would say, like, I get wrapped around the axles with the minutia, the stuff that you shouldn't get upset about, that don't really matter. But I'm kind of a broken windows guy when it comes to that philosophy, and like that minutia details do matter. I can turn a detail into like a character flaw, and that can be, you go from like, not picking the socks up off of your floor like I asked you to do 3 minutes ago, and you haven't gotten off your bed. Like, the reason that is such a problem is that you're going to grow up and you're going to be a person that nobody wants to employ because, you're untrustworthy. And it's like, whoa, we went really quickly to a life change because I don't pick up my socks. And on the other hand, when there have been like real emergencies, where situations are, and it usually is with boys, it usually involves blood or some terrible situation. I'm completely the opposite. Like, it will not get frazzled by that, or blood, or bothered, and so thankfully, I guess, in those. But then I shouldn't be so crazy about the little stuff. And we came home from church one day. You grew up in the country. We didn't lock the doors in the country. We lived, but so then it was always weird for me to have to lock doors. Now, obviously I've been properly trained, by my wife, so everything gets locked up and all this. So it's like my nightly routine. I have to,
me too.
The door's locked and yes,
garage door, entry door, front
exactly.
door.
Like that's make sure the lights are off. Gosh darn, lights are on, and
how much that's going to cost.
We're just rolling through. We're the reason that they have brownouts in California is because you won't turn off the porch light or whatever. And so we get to that point where we had locked the doors. We went to church. So we just, had an epic Christian experience, and we were happy and loving Jesus, and we came home and we were locked out. And I was so furious, like immediatamente, just the devil grabbed me. And I was like, what in the world? Because I'm like, why are we even locking doors? Nobody comes out, whatever, because we live in the country. So then I had very little boys at the time. And I said, well, it was Jack. I was like, Jack, he was probably like 4, 5 years old, maybe. I'm like, I need you to go scurry through this. There was like a vent that you could get into the house. And it was creepy, and you get into the utility room, and since that has all been remodeled, by the way, nobody trying to climb through the vents, but there was that, like, go through there. And he was just like not having it because he's 5, and he's like kind of crying. He's like, I don't want to. And I was immediately mad, not because he wouldn't do it, because I don't like spiders either, as we already discussed in an early episode. He was mad because he did not trust that his dad would never put him in a situation where he wouldn't be okay.
Right.
And that's what I was so furious about. And it didn't. And so then Tanner, who at that time, I guess would have been, I don't know, 14, somewhere in there, 12, 14. Tanner went through I don't know my age of my kids very, but he said, I'll do it, Dad. And went through. And then of course he came in and unlocked the door, and it's time for me to settle down. And Heidi was like, hey, you settle down or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's what he gets. Disappointment.
I'm not mad.
So
I'm disappointed.
We have a poster somewhere that is a famous dad quote. That's what he gets. Disappointment.
Disappointment. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Terrible, but there you go. That's
my favorite Father's Day story was my oldest daughter. She was 16, 17, something like that, and she decided one night on a Saturday late in the evening, her mother and I were out doing whatever, and she got on the back of a four-wheeler, her and 2 of her friends, and they were going down a gravel road with a young man, and believe it or not, he was going too fast, and he lost control and rolled the four-wheeler over into a dredge ditch.
Okay.
And so she ended up with a large laceration, gash, if you will, in her head.
Okay.
And of
which
course,
is super bloody.
Yeah. And so one of the moms tried to fix it. You should probably go home and take a shower. Mm-hmm. All right, great. So she did, and it and next thing you know, we got a phone call. You guys need to come home right away. Maddie got hurt. Mm-hmm. And all right. So we go home and the first thing, nope, that's going to need stitches. So away to the Hancock County Memorial Hospital we went.
Yeah.
And, we got down there about 11:45 and they go through, they did an abdominal ultrasound. They did a head CT, all that stuff to make sure that she didn't have any type of traumatic injury. So they didn't put her on a helicopter and take her to Mayo. Thank God for all that.
Yeah.
But as they were, okay, the abdominal ultrasound was fine, but we're going to wait for the results of this head CT. And the doc on duty said, if she's got any bleeding or swelling in her brain, I'm going to fly her.
Oh, wow. So you're preparing mentally.
And he's like, I'll be back in about 10 minutes. And at this time, it's 12:30, it's Sunday, Father's Day.
Oh, my.
And, yeah. And so I looked over at her and I said, I have to do this every day at work. I have to deal with people that did things that get them into trouble and get them hurt. Mm-hmm. I said, not my daughter.
Yeah.
Not me. And she looked me right in the eyes and said, Happy Father's Day.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Everything I could do not to jump out of the chair and just, beat her like a seal pup.
Oh my gosh. That is, yeah, it's perfect though. Let's take a moment and listen to another one. This is from our number 51 here.
Luke Meyer, number 51, middle linebacker. Hey, Dad, I just wanted to call and say Happy Father's Day. Thanks for raising me right all these years and all the stuff that you do for me. Yep, that's all. Love you. Bye.
I love that. All right, Dad, thanks. That's it. And that's what else do you have to say? Because, our dad's out there and, Happy Father's Day to Luke's dad, big number 5'1" in the middle there. Yeah, Luke's going to be one of those kids to watch too. I got to be honest with you. This is my third year being around him and you can see the development. He's a lot more engaged as he's going through the program. He's focused, driven. He's listening. He's got some great people out there.
Yeah.
That have been ahead of him, that are coaching him up. And I'm not talking about just, Coach Finley and then previously, Coach Daniels. It's his teammates.
Right.
And it's making him better every day. And then he's got that base of having a good dad that he appreciates, and so he can come back and we'll see what he does for the Warriors.
And he's from Vinton, Shellsburg. He's an Iowa boy. And that message made me think of, there's I don't know where I read it, but I think it's true. And that, right now you and I are sitting across from each other. But we're also I'm just as content sitting, side by side. And if you're fishing or what, I don't need to look at you to have a conversation.
It's a bit off-putting.
I wish there was something when we have guests,
you can turn and look at them.
And but when that to me is that's a message, where it's, like, hey, Dad, I don't need to, like, that's a side by side conversation. That's a walking across the yard, that's two men talking. Hey, I just want to thank you for everything you've done. We don't need to make a big deal about it.
Right.
And that's enough said, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that is so important for kids, to understand that, and it never became more true to me until I lost Dad. Mm-hmm. My dad, for those of you that don't know, lost Dad to COVID. Unfortunately, he became ill on our fishing trip, our annual fishing trip, and he wasn't too much longer, and he got very, very sick very, very fast.
Wow.
Yeah, he was on a vent for like 15 days, and just his body couldn't. He's an 80-year-old man.
Yeah,
it does make it easier, but at the same time. Now, at his funeral, we had to wait for Mom to get out of isolation. She had 14 days because she was in the hospital at the same time. Got out the day after.
My.
Yeah, got out the day after Dad passed away. And so we had to wait. So we had like 3 weeks till the funeral. And my sister and I got to eulogize him. And my sister, Ellen, crushed it. I speak in public quite often.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at it, but I'm used to it. And so it doesn't make me nervous, and I can just kind of wing it.
You do a pretty good job.
And well, thank you. But my sister, she had a tribute to Dad that was fantastic. But one of the things that was really, really apparent as I was thinking about, what do you say about a guy that's, been around for 80 years, 52 years of my life, he's been here actually 50 at the time. And what do you say?
Yeah.
But then the one thing that became very, very apparent is that I don't have to stand up here and try to reassure everybody, his wife and his children, his son-in-law, daughter-in-law, his granddaughters, and all them. You don't have to say, Grandpa loved you.
Right. They know that.
Grandpa was proud of you. And that's one of the things that really became true, is that I never had to question, number one, if Dad loved me.
Right.
I never had to question if Dad was proud of me.
Yeah.
Because he not only did he show it, he said it often. And I think that's very important for you dads out there. You can't say it enough.
Right.
And obviously we want you to mean it.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's important. Say those things.
Yeah.
So that, somebody's not eulogizing you one day going, I talked to him one time and he said he's really proud of his kids, and kids look up with shock. I mean, that shouldn't happen. No. And, both my daughters, Isabel and Madeline, they should know. I try to tell them all the time that, hey, we're your biggest cheerleaders.
Right.
We're your number one fans, and we're always going to have your back. And that's true, because there's nothing, and you and I have different frames of reference when it comes to raising children, because you have 4 boys. I've got 2 girls, and there's a dynamic there that's a lot different. I feel more of the protector. And one of the hardest moments of my life was back in, I don't remember what year it was. She graduated in 2015, my oldest again.
Yeah.
Dropping her off down in Missouri at Northwest Missouri State, and leaving this first child of mine a state away, and thinking, what am I? Because my role has always been, if I'm around, there's nothing bad that can happen to you if I can do anything about it.
But then,
and now it's like, she's going out there.
Yeah.
And I struggled. I got to be honest. I'm an emotional dude, and I wept from Maryville, Missouri to Hopkins, which is about 15 miles. And then I had this God moment that, because it was like, man, what if she gets assaulted? What if she gets beat up? What if she doesn't make any friends? What if all the bad things that you could possibly think of when your children aren't right there? And there was this little nudge, and I said, well, but what if she starts changing the world from right here?
Yeah.
What if she makes some of the best friends she's ever had? What if she meets the love of her life? So all those things that I was told after I had my little freak out moment is what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, she made some of the best friends, and I don't know if she's changed the world yet. She works for a bank. She works in fraud.
Yeah, come on.
She's saving people money.
There you go.
Yeah. So, super proud of both my girls. My youngest is moving back to Maryville, here and it's been great having her home and just kind of reconnecting, because she's a lot like me.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a cynic, and she kind of says, she's got a sense of humor. That's fantastic. And it's so fun having her around. Ready for her to leave?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
This whole empty nest thing they keep telling us about, we've been waiting, but she's going to move back down there, and she's not going to enroll in school right away, and she's just going to kind of do life. And I'm excited for her.
But everybody that's listening, that's a parent, has got those same college drop off, that feeling that you get, that nudge that you feel like it is going to be okay. The faithful person in me would say, "Oh, that's cute. You think you were the protector this whole time."
Yeah, right.
God's got it, and that's always been. I've been fortunate in that way. In fact, even God said, "This is my son, with whom I am well pleased." I mean, like, that's a blessing, and even God did that. So, like, if certainly we could, as parents and certainly as dads, take the time to go ahead and say that. And just like what you said, I love you and I'm proud of you. I mean, God did it for Jesus. I'm sure that, we can do it for our kids at least once in a while.
Yeah.
My dad was a little more Norwegian about that, a little more stoic. I absolutely have no doubt that he loves me. He has told me that he loves me. I believe it. I know he's proud of me. But he is very stoic, and less stoic than my grandpa, his dad.
Yep.
But certainly it was something that my mom is not stoic in that regard. Like, she just tells you she loves you and all that other stuff. So fortunately, a good blend again. And I made sure that as a dad, from day one, that was something that, we hug and we're free with our emotion. And that is, and who cares? Who cares what anybody else thinks, So that's for sure. You made a point, or you made me think of something when you were saying, like, what, at the eulogizing your dad, like, what can I ask? What do I say about my dad? Person with you, your 50 years of your life. Maybe we should make a list of the questions we needed to have asked them. And if we do that far enough in advance, we can get around to actually asking them, the questions, like you eulogize your dad by saying, hey, I'm thinking about buying this car. I'd like your input. You'll never get that opportunity again. Take the time. Geez, kids, ask your folks about what it was like growing up, because by the time that you want to ask them a question, hopefully they're not gone.
Right.
Ask your folks about just whatever you want.
Yeah, one of the things that in this day and age, if I use the word indoctrination, it has a negative connotation to it. But the reality is that I've been indoctrinated by my parents. I only ever knew one grandparent, my grandma Mary, my mom's mom, maternal grandmother, and then my uncles and my aunts, and my cousins, but it's like, you talk about, well, Dad's not here to talk about or ask about some of these questions, but that indoctrination over 50 years of my life, I mean, that rides with you. You carry that with you every day, and that's the legacy and the benefit that our parents and our grandparents and our families leave for us, and that's what is imperative for us as fathers to leave with our children. I'm a guy, I talk too much generally, but when it comes to the kids, I probably don't say a lot. Mm-hmm. My wife does a good job of saying a lot.
Yeah. Right.
All the time. And, but on the other hand, it's kind of one of those that if I'm going to drop a nugget, it's going to be, I try to think, let's have some meaning to this.
I have the audacity to tell them after I say something brilliant, they should probably write that down. You're going to need that later.
Hey, everybody listening, I'm talking. You guys should
like
listen.
Your dad said at the fishing thing.
I'm talking here.
That's right. Let's see if we can get a message from another guest that we had here. And I think we know what hobo water is all about.
Ooh.
McCoy Yackel, safety number 43. Happy Father's Day, Randy. Love you.
There you go. That's it. That's simple, sweet, to the point, and first name, which...
Hey, Randy. And for the record, Randy, I love you too, man.
Yeah, right.
That's right. And those of you that don't know Randy and Darla Yackel, tell you what, you get to know those folks, and you're going to love them too. Wonderful, wonderful human beings, and McCoy, he obviously he got very verbose there. Randy,
that's right.
Love you. that was so McCoy too. That's what's so great.
Well, this has turned into a pretty great episode. We do have a couple more messages, but it has turned into, I think, a pretty good episode. Hopefully, we haven't driven anybody away or crazy with just you and I talking about it. But football is such a, the whole sport was invented for the sole purpose of dads who were veterans of the Civil War wanting to make sure that their sons didn't grow up without the opportunity to experience combat.
Didn't want them soft.
They didn't want them to be weak. So that, exactly. And so, that's how, and they started it at, Yale and Harvard, the Ivy League brought it. So, we're not looking to the Ivy League for great football games anymore, but
negative.
No, but I think that tradition, there's value to it. There is, I love football because to me it's an army game, and I don't mean it like it's a battle for land, and the only way that you can take it is by mano a mano, one-on-one, personal combat, and it's the American game. It's not rugby, it's definitely not soccer. There's elements of those things, but it is the Americanized version of those European sports where we're like, what would happen if we put some armor on and ran even faster and harder? And what if we, had the forward pass, or what if we, just the crazy things that, if you look at the American game, that's exactly how we are.
Yeah.
Like we'll take I don't even understand cricket. And I don't know if this is a good analogy because I don't understand it at all. But it's like, I don't think that game has changed much since whatever Shakespeare invented or however it came about. I don't know. And I don't care. But like football seems like it's constantly evolving. If there's a way to make a helmet go through a block wall and not hurt anybody, and then be like, we're going to go ahead and do that. And even our athletes,
it's bigger, faster, stronger.
Yes.
All of them. And it's, football is that game of violence and strategy mixed together.
Yeah. And leaving it on the field.
Yeah.
which is true in any sport, but because of the violence associated with football, thank God, teaching young men that there is a time and a place for all things. And at the end of one of the responsibilities, in my old-fashioned opinion, not that I necessarily am a Civil War veteran, but I need you to understand that you may have to do battle. So you should prepare for that.
Yes.
But you should not, and you should be able to do it well. But there's a place for it.
Absolutely.
And it's not in the bar, and it's not in any of the, it's not for these other things.
And that's one of the things. I watched a video in the last few days. It was just sickening after the Rangers lost at home in the NHL. There were fans walking out, and there was a Tampa Bay fan walking behind a Rangers fan, and the Rangers fan stopped, turned around, and knocked the guy out and hurt him.
Yeah,
horribly. That's not the time and place.
No,
a violent person shouldn't be known to be violent.
Right.
A violent, forceful person, that should be just an undercurrent that don't make me bring this out.
That there's Coward of the County, Kenny Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
The best, one of the greats. That's exactly what you're speaking to, in my opinion. And I love that song because everybody considered him the Coward of the County, but they figured something said they were reading old Tommy, I think it's Tommy. He was reading him wrong. I don't know and it is. And so one of that cool part of that song is when he's going to go, I can't remember the name of the bad guys, the rapists, or what they were. It's like he went and met him in the bar, and then they called him chicken or whatever they did, and he turns around, and then you could have heard a pin drop when he locked the door.
And Tommy stopped
it's like
to lock the door.
And then he just whooped up on them all. And I love that. It's like a 3-minute song, and it's Kenny Rogers, and it's whatever. But
Tommy's love was Becky.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. I love that song. And then if we weren't limited by rules and copyright, we'd play it. But we
there's that.
Yeah, there's that. So speaking of playing stuff, though, let's here's a message that comes from Mr. Rodriguez here.
This is Cesar Rodriguez. I play offensive guard at Waldorf, and I'm number 57. I want to thank my dad for everything he does. Unfortunately, this year I won't be in California. I stayed around in Iowa, to get better and focus more on what I'm trying to do. So, Dad, I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you and goodbye. I'll see you soon.
That's great. Cesar, I saw him at the grocery store the other day.
Okay.
And I just kind of, hey, how you doing, man? And he's just like, oh, hey, coach. And so we stood there and talked for a minute, and I'm like, what have you been doing? Oh, I've been having some fun, working hard, and it's like, so, it's like, you been doing anything fun? Well, I went to Country Thunder. I'm like, oh yeah? Did you behave yourself? Yeah, I did. And that's good because sometimes the shenanigans get there. But I'll tell you what, he's one of those guys. He's big, strong kid.
Yeah,
and he's got the face of an angel.
Yeah, he does.
Look at that picture.
Yeah, just a nice young. He's 300 pounds. But just a nice.
He's
nice
a petite 300
little.
Oh yeah, like I said, and super kid.
Yeah,
and it's he's always seems to have a pretty great attitude. You see him on the field and in practice and stuff like that, and he's always smiling and joking. And Cesar is from, like he said, from California and can't be with his dad on this Father's Day, which that's a tough deal.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what we get when we send our children off.
Yeah,
so. But yeah, hopefully Cesar's dad is listening to this, and we want to wish him a happy Father's Day as well.
Absolutely.
And Troy and I are just a small part of, and not just Cesar, but everybody that's talked, just a small part. Troy said this time and time again, and it sunk in with me that, while they're here, they're ours.
That's right.
And we're going to take care of them, and we're going to do anything that we can. So, as you guys have heard us, waxing eloquent about being fathers and being sons and things like that. And I can tell you that, as much as we're just members of the community, we're adopting your kids, and we're going to do anything we can to make them the type of men that are going to make you as fathers proud. And that's an obligation.
Yeah,
it's a
that's right.
hell of a responsibility, but it's also a heck of an honor for us to be able to do that for your kids. It can be a tough task at times, but we're going to love them. We're going to love them every day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, one more, Andy, and then I do. It turned out to be a pretty good full-length episode. I wasn't quite sure, but when it comes to talking about dads and being a dad, boy, we could probably make it a lot longer episode. It's Liam Stone. He was the first one to actually call and leave a message for his dad. So we're the first one to call, and here is, and it's the last one that we're going to play today.
This is Liam Stone. I'm an offensive guard, jersey number 79. And I just want to say to my dad, Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you. Even though you would probably say whoever he is, even if that were true, I'm glad that you are my father, and I'm glad you're the one that raised me.
So, and that's Liam, and he was right on the ball. He had a message for his pop, and
Liam showed up for spring ball. It wasn't a name that I was accustomed to, and we start hanging up nameplates and stuff in the locker room to get everything ready for spring ball for the guy. Stone, who's this character? Yeah, big fella. Woo. Yeah, it's going to be. They're bringing in some big men.
Yeah,
and Liam. Liam's dad. You got to look Troy and I up. Just because a guy with a sense of humor like that, I think that's right up our alley.
That's correct. Thank God that my kids have senses of humor. I feel like my wife's got a great sense of humor. You got to. I mean, if you're going to live with me, for crying out loud, and that's just so important to me, because there's just quarter century plus in the Army. The experiences that life is tough. Growing up as a kid on a farm in Iowa, I've learned that blood, mud, I usually use a different word, poop, whenever, like it all sucks and it all washes off.
Yeah.
And it washes off, and it ends up being a heck of a story to tell. So even if whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that sucks at the time, having that story to tell when you make it through, and you will, made us bigger, faster, stronger, and hopefully a heck of a lot funnier.
And I get a lot of my humor from my old man. Love to scare people, love to tell some sort of outlandish story, some complete lie, just to see if people go,
yes,
really?
Yes.
And Dad, we have a tradition on Thanksgiving is that we watch Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, I love that show.
And my dad and I would always laugh when they're sitting at the dinner table, and Clark Griswold does the old, hey kids, just heard on the radio that some pilots spotted Santa's sleigh over New York City.
Yeah, I know where you're going with it. Yeah.
And Cousin Eddie goes, you serious, Clark? That was mine and Dad's line,
Serious, Clark?
Yeah, he would Dad would tell some whoppers, and my wife and my mom would, we call it bullheading, because, if you catch a bass, you catch it by the lip. You catch a walleye, you catch it by the lip. You catch a bullhead, they swallowed the whole damn hook.
Yeah, every time. Yeah.
So, and that was always you serious, Clark?
Yes, indeed. Well, hopefully that, with this podcast, we've had the opportunity to instill a sense of humor, and an idea. We hit on it every time, and we beat it to death, but we think it's so important. Folks that are listening to this, members of the community, parents, we're so thankful for having you share your kids with us here at Waldorf, and having the opportunity to see them excel on the field. They're making, our coaches are working hard to make their lives better. But the truth is that your kids are making their lives better too. I'd say most of the time. There's probably moments where
yes, there is. Yes.
Yep, right. Yep. So happy Father's Day to all of the dads out there. Happy Father's Day, Andy, to you, and I hope that everyone that hears this has a great weekend and has the opportunity to give that advice and ask those questions. that need to be asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, happy Father's Day to you as well, Troy.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job with your boys. They're exceptional young men. Happy Father's Day as well. Like Troy said, I want to reiterate to those dads out there that aren't able to be with your sons, because we got them here. Again, we're going to take care of them. They're going to be our boys for a little while. And rest assured that we're going to do everything we can to turn them into the men that you expect them to be. So with that, for Troy Thompson and Andy Buffington, thank you for listening to the Waldorf Gridiron Podcast. Have a happy Father's Day. You can join the Waldorf Gridiron Club today by sending a check to the Waldorf Gridiron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa, 50436.
Or message us by visiting and like our Facebook page, Waldorf Gridiron Club. Or email us at waldorfgridironclub@gmail.com.
Or it's as easy as clicking on the Support the Show link on your phone. Become a patron of the Gridiron Club by choosing to support the program monthly. $100 is the black membership at $9 a month.
The $250 level is purple at $25 a month.
$500 is the warrior membership at $45 a month.
The all-conference level is $750 or $65 a month.
$1,000 is the all-American membership at $85 a month.
The champion level is $125 a month, and that's $1,500 a year.
$2,500 is the Hall of Fame membership.
The Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farmstead Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. The music is by Christian Leo. The Waldorf Gridiron Club is a non-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to football student-athletes of Waldorf University. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.